Well, good evening. Um, for everyone on chat, if you can do me a favor and just type that you can hear me. Okay, that was a long pause of silence, but finally Michael Roy came to save us and said that he can hear us. So that means that we are ready to go. Still have about 9 minutes, so we'll wait for other applicants to come online. So what I'll do is I'll simply just mute the sound for now, and I'll be back at 7 p.m. sharp in about 9 minutes. All right, guys? Thank you for waiting. All right, everyone. Good evening. Clock here is 7, so I guess we are all good to go. Now, just a couple of things to start with. My name is Mo Asadi. I'm the CDO and co-founder here at FreightOn. Both my LinkedIn profile and the company's LinkedIn profile is in front of you in that slide. Um, I'm a technical person, so I'm not your typical freight guy. Um, I used to work for Microsoft as a senior project manager. I started a company called Hotel TV Group here in Orlando, Florida, a few years ago. I was a senior technical architect with cybernetics in John Henry in London. So I've been all over the place, I got involved with FreightOn about 3 years ago and helped start the company. Now, just a little heads up, this presentation is by invite only to applicants for our freight agent position, which I'm in charge of recruiting for. I'll be online here together with my colleague, Joe. Um, Joe is going to be helping me answer uh, some of your questions on chat. Now, if you don't hear me for some reason, please raise the volume on your computer or the device you're using to listen. Is everyone else hearing me well? All right. So that does sound like a yes. Okay. A little heads up. Um, this is something I want to share before I start this presentation. This is an email I got of one of the agents, or actually one of the applicants I invited to this webinar. And I wanted you to take a look at this email and just give you a heads up. Um, Obviously I blurred out the applicant's name and a few bleeps here and there, but this was my response to that email. If you want to read the entire thing, but basically the applicant, she thought that this could be an upselling kind of webinar or presentation. Just want to assure you that um, this is the first webinar we actually do, and um, we're never going to collect money for any of this. We're actually recruiting agents to our position. We're going to train you guys. We're going to give you all the tools you need to go out there and make money. And obviously, all this is free. I just wanted to mention this before going into details because I'm sure a lot of you have that question in mind. All right, so what we're going to be covering today is an introduction to the freight industry, how the freight industry works today, and what FreightOn is doing to change it, what makes us different and special. What is a freight agent role, and what is it exactly that you will be doing with us, how you will do it, and obviously, we're going to speak about potential earnings, how much money you could make out of this, how that works, and what are the next steps after this webinar to continue with your recruitment process. So I'll start with talking a little bit about the freight industry. So today in the United States, there are 3.5 million truck drivers, and there is a still massive shortage of drivers. What that means is that there are more loads to move in the continental USA than there are drivers available to move those. So that is usually a good sign of an industry you want to be part of. If we take a look at the industry in numbers, today the industry is worth roughly $700 billion, and it is growing rapidly. Typical increase we see every year is between 5 and 7%. So again, good indications. Now let's examine a little quote here that I found. It says everything we touch has been transported at least 3 times in its lifetime. So let's put that statement to a test. We'll take a simple example, a chair. So that chair is made of wood. So obviously it was a tree sometime in its lifetime. Someone cut that tree and converted it to raw material, to wood. That wood was then taken to a factory where they made the chair. Eventually, it was sent to a retailer, and you found that chair, you liked that chair, you bought that chair, so it was shipped to you at the end of the day. Now, in between every bullet point you see there, there is a truck carrying that material from point A to point B. Um, Storage could occur anywhere in between. So let's say you have raw material wood, you're going to store that wood until the factory needs more wood. So you would add a stop there. Usually, retailers and factories have storage facilities. So they would move the merchandise from the factory or the wholesaler to a storage facility until there is an order from a retailer. The retailer gets that. So there is a lot of movement going on, and it's increasing. So with online retailers now, there is more demand for storage facilities and more deliveries happening on a larger scale. So that's why the industry is actually growing. All right. So in the freight industry, there are three major entities that you guys need to know about. First of all, it's the shipper. Now, the shipper again is either a manufacturer or a wholesaler who has merchandise to move from point A to point B. There's obviously the carrier, which is a driver or a dispatcher who drives from point A to point B. And finally, well, yeah, there is you. So, freight agents or freight brokers have the responsibility of connecting shippers to carriers. So, most shippers out there do not have a dedicated logistics division. They basically do what they're good at, producing goods. And when it comes to moving those goods, then they get into contact with a brokerage firm or a 3PL. 3PL stands for third party logistics, a 3PL company like ourselves. They usually give us the loads they need to move weekly. We Our job is to connect them with the correct vetted carriers. What is a vetted carrier? A vetted carrier is a carrier who has active insurance, has good driving history, and good ratings. So they arrive on time, pick up on time, deliver on time, and do their jobs responsibly. So when a shipper asks a broker to move a load, what brokers nowadays and what they've been doing for the past 100 years is list those loads on load boards. And load boards are simply what the word means. It's a board where it says I have a load from Texas going to North Carolina. It's covering X number of miles, and this is the weight of the load, and I need a carrier to do that. And carriers used to go and look at these boards and bid on them, basically. So they would speak to the broker and say, I will do it for X amount of money. Now, obviously, this is an ancient tradition that has evolved with the introduction of the internet and the Internet of Things and all that. So nowadays, a load board is nothing more than a website that you pay a monthly subscription to get access to, both as a broker and as a carrier. And you list your loads, usually the phone number, and carriers will start calling you to bid on that load. So I think the easiest way to um, um, speak about loads and to describe them, most importantly for people who do not have any experience in this industry, is that it's an industry that involves tens of phone calls. So when this broker, and once again, we're talking about the average and normal brokers out there. We're not talking about us, not about FreightOn. FreightOn is a different approach to the industry. But the way it's done today, when that load is listed on one of those load boards, the agent responsible for listing that load is going to get tens of phone calls from different drivers and carriers who's trying to negotiate a rate that works for them. So, and usually it's a back and forth kind of thing where the carrier would call and say, okay, I'll do it for 1500. The broker says, I cannot give you 1500. My limit is around 1200. The carrier goes back and say, I'll do it for 14, and they finally settle somewhere around 1300. So it's a lot of phone calls. It's one of the most time consuming parts of the freight industry as we know it today. Now, together with that, there is one major issue that is affecting the shipper. Now, because brokers are getting these bids pretty much in a discreet way where other carriers do not know what the phone call before them had offered. It's a private one-to-one kind of conversation. So when the broker moves a load and decides to assign it to a carrier, let's say they move it for $1,200, they can invoice their shipper $2,000 because the shipper never knows how much that load was moved for. They never know how much the carrier got paid. Basically, they get a blank invoice from their broker asking them for X amount of money. Another issue is load tracking. So the way it works today in the industry is that, if the shipper wants to know where their load are, or where their load is at any specific point in time, they need to contact their broker. The broker would then contact the dispatcher on the carrier side, and the dispatcher will call the driver to ask him, where are you right now? So the driver is going to answer that question. The dispatcher is going to call back the broker and tell him, my driver is at point X. And then the broker will call back the customer to let them know where their load is. So obviously that can take anywhere from minutes to hours. And in today's technology and in today's rate of information, how quick information is transferred, it is simply not acceptable. So I'm going to take an example. I'm going to take a load. So once again, a load is a shipment moving from Orlando, Florida to New York, New York. According to Google Maps, this is 1,072 miles worth of road. And let's take a look at, how the pricing works today with an average broker. So the load is 1,072 miles. Let's, for simplicity's sake, assume that the carrier is charging $2 per mile. What that means is that the carrier is going to get $2,145 to move that load from Orlando to New York. Now, brokers charge a commission that varies anywhere between 20 and 50%. Now, again, for simplicity's sake, we're going to assume that the broker is charging an average of 35%. So on that load, they are charging $750 on top of the $2,145 that the carrier is getting, which means that the customer ends up with a cost of $28.95 to move that load from Orlando to New York. All right, so let's see how things work on FreightOn's side. So it's the same load. It's 1,072 miles going from Orlando to New York. Once again, it's $2 per mile, and the carrier is getting exactly the same money they used to get. So we're not affecting the carrier's pay in any way. FreightOn goes in with a flat commission of 20%. That commission never goes up. It might go down depending on volume. So for qualified shippers, we might be able to drop that commission, but we would never go above 20%. What that means is that we're going to charge $429 in commission charges. And the customer will end up paying $25.74 for exactly the same load. Now, if you're good at math, we have $28.95 minus $25.74. First number is an average freight broker. The second number is what FreightOn would charge. We are assuming 5 loads a day for that customer, and most customers have a way higher number daily, but we're assuming 5. Any customer shipping less than 5 is not really in business. Just because they're not going to go at 7 in the morning, open the warehouse, and go to work to move 2 loads. Usually, the average numbers are in the 10 and the 15s, but for simplicity's sake, we're assuming 5 loads a day. So 5 times 321, which is the average saving. Again, we took an average load, equals $1,605 of saving on daily basis. Once again, we assume there are 22 working days in a month and 12 months a year. So the yearly saving for that small shipper is $420,000 plus. And that's one shipper only that only ships 5 loads a day. If you're a salesman and you walk in to the shipper and shows them that amount of saving, it's an easy sell. I can tell you that. All right, so we move to the question that most of you guys have in mind, and it's something that I definitely want to talk about. Your commission is basically 26% of the total commission charged by FreightOn. So let's break that down and take exactly the same scenario. So still the same load, moving from Orlando, Florida to New York, New York. FreightOn's commission for that load was $429. Your commission is 26% of that, so you get $111.50. Now, once again, assuming 5 loads a day, 25 days a month, so they don't work weekends, and 12 months a year, from that single customer, you're going to be able to make just over $29,000 from one single customer. That sounds very, very good to me. I don't know about you guys. I would love to hear about it on chat, and obviously we're going to do a Q&A after we're done. So please, if you have major questions, let's keep them to the end. A lot of agents ask me, what is a good goal? So this is my scenario of a good goal. I usually tell agents to aim for 10 shipping customers, to recruit 10 shipping customers in a year's time. So once again, using the same formula, if you manage to get 10 shipping customers, you'll end up with just under $300,000 to your pocket. And that is, I had a very long conversation with Joe, who's with us on chat, about showing this specific slide, because he said, you might be showing it too big of a number. Why don't we drop it down to 5 customers? But if you're going to spend an entire year to convert 5 customers, I don't think you're doing your job correctly. I think 10 customers is a very reasonable goal. It's under a customer a month, and getting that amount of money should realistically be doable. That's what I think. I wanted to mention just a couple of facts that on daily basis there are just about 1 million loads to move in the United States alone. So 1 million loads that needs to be moved. And again, there are 3.5 million carriers. The reason the number of loads that we see is way less than what is available is because there are a lot of private deals going on. So a lot of those loads never make it to the load boards that are available online. They are done privately between large companies, and they never go on a bidding kind of scenario. They're taken on a fixed price, and that's that is a major market for us to target because whatever the fixed price is, FreightOn will beat it. Let me tell you a little bit about FreightOn. What do we do? What do we do different? Why are we so confident that we can beat every single pricing out there? So simply because we don't have any membership fees. So our carriers do not pay us money to sign up. Our shippers do not pay us money to sign up. It's absolutely free, completely free. Download the app, create an account. Online bidding, meaning we eliminate phone calls. The reason I put eventually is because we still have a lot of old schoolers out there who'd love to do it over the phone. So we're not going to eliminate it completely, but we are doing everything we can to move towards a more eBay kind of bidding scenario where you bid online back and forth on an app or on your web app on the computer, and you get a load moved. I mean, imagine being an agent who gets all his or her bids using an app. You're saving tons and tons and tons of phone calls. I actually need to answer Michael's question. I like that question. We're not like UShip. No, UShip specializes in consumer small shipments. They don't do full truckloads for businesses. We aim. Our business is aimed towards businesses. We're a B2B company. We don't do LTLs. LTL stands for less than full load. We do not do that. We do full truckloads purely. All right, Michael, thank you. I appreciate the question. It's a good one. It's a good one. All right, so let's keep moving. All right, this is our major selling point. Once again, you remember the slide where I mentioned that shippers never know the real pricing or the real number carriers are bidding on a load. This is where we shine. Shippers have access to the portal where they see every load they've listed and they see every bid coming into their load. So there is no way for us to move a load for a higher number than the lowest bid. Unless the lowest bidder has very bad rating as a carrier, then we'll move to the next one. But our aim as a company is to save shippers money while maintaining the carrier's pay and lowering our fees. So at the end of the day, the shipper will save money and will be confident that they are saving money because they can always go online, see what kind of bids they got, what was the assigned carrier, what was their bid, and how much is the total invoice. So simply no BS. There's a lot of BS going on on the broker side, and we're here to change that. We really believe in transparency. We really believe that if you approach a business in an honest way, you will gain more customers. Also, by doing that, because of the transparency and the lower pricing, we're not only going to get 2 or 3 loads from every shipper, we aim to get all the loads for that shipper because no one can beat our pricing. All right. Again, fixed commission. We never go up and down with our commission fees. Our commission is always flat at 20% for all our customers. Again, for special cases where there's volume and it's a larger entity that we would really want to do business with, we're even going to drop that commission a little bit lower with a point or two. Live dedicated agents, that's you guys. That's the position you're applying for, and you are the faces of the company. So just a heads up, here at FreightOn, we do not have an in-house sales team. So we do not have employees that actually are trying to sell the FreightOn name to customers out there. we are 100% agent based. And the main reason we built our business concept that way is because we believe of crowdsourcing. Once again, I come from a technology background. I had major influence in really insisting on this structure, because if you crowdsource everything, take a look at Uber, take a look at DoorDash, take a look at all these companies out there. If you crowdsource a concept and get help from everyone and pay them well, it's a working formula. Then we obviously, because we use apps and technology, and that's what I do for a living, so we give our shippers free tracking, free status updates, and we give our carriers what is called guaranteed detention. So what does that mean? Detention is when a carrier arrives to a warehouse to pick up or to deliver merchandise, and then because that warehouse is busy, they end up waiting for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours sometimes. By law, or usually by contract, they should be paid for any wait time over 2 hours. They should be compensated for that. Obviously, because of the way brokers work and they trying to keep as much money for themselves as they can, that never happens. We actually guarantee detention, and it's part of our contract on the shipper side. So when the shipper signs a contract with FreightOn, we tell them, if the carrier waits more than 2 hours, you will pay detention. It's in the contract. All right. Obviously, I spoke about this. Shippers will always get the best rate, and I forgot the S in shippers. We have free 7-day pay for our carriers. Once again, because drivers are used to wait anywhere between 20 to sometimes up to 45 days to get paid on a load that they did today. Most of them use what is called factoring companies, and it's something that is going to be included in the training material. But for those of you who know what factoring companies, you know what I'm talking about. What we do is we take the factoring company out of the equation. We basically guarantee 7-day payment with no fees taken. And then we offer as well an option for next day quick pay for a small percentage. We beat every factoring company in the small percentage for the next day payment. Obviously, all our carriers are vetted for insurance, active DOT registration, active MC number, etc. We make sure that we are dealing with premium carriers. We provide free document storage for all the loads that are listed using our app. So that means that the bill of lading will always be available there for both the carrier and the shipper until the end of time or until Armageddon. And obviously, we provide contagion insurance, which is a third fail-safe just in case the carrier's insurance never kick into play for some reason. The shipper's insurance doesn't come into play. We carry a third-party insurance that would, keep things safe. All right. So what's next? Basically, after viewing this webinar, and I hope I've not taken too long of your time, those that are still interested will be able to request the training material. Now, what is our training material? It's basically a PDF document of 15 or 16 pages that gives you an insight into the industry. It makes you, for those that are not familiar with the industry, it really guides you into understanding how things work. I've tried to put it in words, but sometimes you're going to need to see text and read it and study it. So obviously, you're going to study that material. Later on, you're going to take an online test. It's a basic test that basically tells us you've read that material and understood it. After that, you are a certified agent, and that is something that we work hard with you. So when you actually get the training material, you're going to have questions, and those questions are going to be answered, and we're going to work with you to get you to the point where you are ready to get into the industry. After that, there will be a final stage of passing an in-person interview or a virtual interview, depending on your location. There are no costs, Latika. It's completely free. Again, I mentioned that in the beginning of the webinar. I don't know if you were there. We never charge a dime. We're not interested in charging you money. We just want to qualify you and make sure that you are ready to go to the industry. All right, guys. So um, finally, once you pass that in-person interview or a virtual interview, you're going to get an assigned list of leads, usually in your geographic location. So in your geographic area, you're going to get a number of leads. You're going to work on qualifying those leads. Obviously, the material is going to help you in how to approach them, but it's the usual. Anyone who's done sales before, anyone has done B2B sales, to be more specific, you need to understand the business you're approaching before knocking that door or picking up that phone. You're going to need to study them, vet them, and approach them the right way. And once again, you're not offering them anything new. They do ship loads every single day. That's what they do for a living. You're not creating a need. The need is there. And obviously, excuse me, obviously, we hope that you make money, and that is our goal. Now, for those that are interested, these are both my email address and Joe's email address. Feel free to write them down, or you can actually go back and watch this video later on if you missed something in the beginning, or you missed a point or two, or I was speaking in an accent that you couldn't understand. Just replay it and see how if you have any questions there. All right. So my presentation is done. It's taken just about 35 minutes, and I want to hear from you guys if you have any questions. I'm just gonna be quiet and read the chat. I was not able to read everything while I was presenting, but if you have a question, please go ahead and post it right now. Yes, it is a 1099 position, Michael. So it should be in the description, but also there is no base salary. This is a 1099 position. Uh, the way we pay is biweekly. So once you get your first customer, move your first load, there's a 2 week cycle where you wait until you get your next payment. We do not withhold any amounts. So whatever you make, that's what you get. And obviously, it's a 1099 position. We're not going to withhold taxes. That's something that you will have to take care of. Please pay your taxes. You're going to get in trouble if you don't. The timeline. Okay, so Stephen, the timeline is completely different from person to person. You guys are from different age groups. You guys are from different backgrounds. You guys, um, we're completely selected based on merits. So we don't look at age or sex or location and things like that. What we care about is you seem to have the will to learn this. You seem to be a hard worker. Then we want you to be part of our business. Um, on the other hand, the average time I've seen it take is anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks. That's what I would put. Latika, if we're interested in training, should we email you or Joe? Either, uh, anyone, doesn't really matter. Paul, are there any geographical restrictions on marketing? No, sir. No, you are free to market your small business anywhere. Is FreightOn available in the Miami market? FreightOn is available in the entire continental US. Very, very soon, we will be available in Canada and Mexico, and we are working on an expansion to Europe. So I'll be honest with you guys, you are early, but we are experiencing uh, exponential growth at this point. So it's an interesting time to be joining the company. Are you only moving general freight, or will you do reefer freight, expedited freight, heavy haul, and flatbed? Okay, there we have an experienced freight specialist, ladies and gentlemen. Sean, we will be doing all of the above. Expedited, yes, yes, even expedited. I had to think about that, but yes, we do all kind of trailers. We actually even do power only. T.S. Allen, how do we do the interview virtually? Okay, easy one. You can do it either on Skype, Google Hangouts. It's pretty much a camera and a microphone. You just need a laptop or a phone. Michael, how many agents do you currently have on the team? I will keep that information private for now, just because we have a couple of competitors. I'm waiting for a major question. There's a question I was really hoping to see. Let's see if anyone can shoot that question. Uh, tip. I said the word. For now, the targets of a company or drivers. Can I reach out to my own contacts? Jessica, that's not the way we designed the system. Once again, if you reach to your own contacts, you could be moving it for a higher price than the shipper wants. So the answer to that is no. Um, the whole purpose of the system is to save the shipper. So we'll put it out there. Carriers will bid, and we will most likely be taking the lowest bid. All right, Jessica? Cynthia, how long to get the material and get started? Well, it's pretty much instant. I mean, if you manage to email us tonight, you'll definitely get an answer either tonight or tomorrow morning. Terrence, is there an hourly rate commission? No money accumulation until we land the client. Sadly, no, because it's a 1099 position. There is no base pay. But believe me, with some hard work, you should be most of you guys will be able to land that first client from within your network, from within people you know, or someone that knows someone. That's how you usually get your first client. Just a heads up. So once again, it's 1099. There is no base pay. There is no hourly rate. It's a 1099 commission only position. Reginaldo, what is the passing score? Passing score is, I think it's 85%. I'll have to ask Joe about that. If you know the answer, Joe, go ahead and type it. Is there mentoring once you become an agent? Okay, Joyce, very good question. Is there mentoring once you become an agent? Yes. Not only that, you will have a a a manager that is responsible for you and a number of other agents that you have daily contact with. So yes, there is mentoring. We will always be here to support you. Hope that answers the questions. Looking for shipping, yes. Would this be possible? Steven, I have potential shippers. Okay, it looks like you have potential shippers in Canada looking to ship to the US. Would this be possible with FreightOn? Yes, sir. Definitely. Looks like you already landed your first customer. T.S. Allen, phone. Alan, I'm not sure. What do you mean with that question? How many times can we take the test? Okay, Justin, you can take the test only one time. Abi Kadir, after the webinar, will there be an automatic email telling you to finish the training to be an agent? No, there's no automatic email. You will actually need to email either me or Joe, and our email address is on the screen. And the reason we do that is we don't want to spam you. If you're not happy, you don't want to continue. We don't want to just email people. We want you to just send that email and say I'm interested in getting the material. That way we know you're still interested in FreightOn. Let's see. I'm not sure about Steven. What load boards? Maybe there was a conversation I didn't see. Okay, me Roberts, good question. Will we be able to bring agents under us? So it's not a pyramid scheme, so no, not in that way, as in, you recommend someone and you make money out of them. No, but on the other hand, if you grow as an agent, so, and this is something that happened, look up other 3PL companies that are based on basically a similar structure like ours. Those in the industry should know what I'm talking about and who I'm talking about. But there is a company that does a very similar approach. They don't have the technology, but they do the agent kind of thing. And what happens me is when you grow as an agent and start making somewhere around 600, 700 $1,000 or $1 million, then you will need employees. You will not be able to handle everything on your own. You're making the money, hire people to help you. So that's the way to grow. It's definitely not a pyramid scheme. Let's see. Princess. Can we use a desktop for virtual interview or provided with software? All right. So, Princess, we will be using um, desktop. Yeah, you can use a desktop for the virtual interview as long as it has a webcam. So absolutely, you can even use your phone if it has some kind of video chatting software. You will be provided with all the software. We spent 3 years of R&D on developing our own software, and you will be provided for that. It will, and obviously we will train you to use it. What other equipment is needed besides a phone? You're gonna need some kind of laptop or a tablet and an internet connection. That's pretty much all you need. Sean, do FreightOn provide all the available broker contracts, brokering software, and load boards? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do provide all that. All right, T.S. Allen, if we are 1099, do we need an EIN and DBA to operate? No. So a 1099, you could either run under your social security number. If you eventually need to hire employees, that's when you're going to need an EIN and a business to register a business. But to start, you can just provide a 1099 with your social security number. Obviously, you need to have a real social security number and be authorized to work in this country. I have to say that by law. All right. So much rather than base pay if you work. Michael Roy, I agree with you, but yes, I mean, it's money do not grow on trees. You will have to work hard for it, but I honestly believe that we have something very interesting here. Michael Roy emailed me. Thank you, Michael. Teresita, we will upload the load on all load boards or only on FreightOn. Okay, so you basically post the listing on FreightOn. And if we see a need to list it somewhere else because it's not moving, we're not getting enough bids, etc., we will do that for you. So your responsibility basically ends by listing it on FreightOn. Let me see. Okay. Thank you, Joe. Okay, so let me see here. Would we use DAT or ITS? Stephen, we're going to be using everything. We're going to be using DAT, ITS, truck stop, everything we need. But most importantly, we're using FreightOn. All right, so FreightOn first. If we need to list somewhere else, we'll do that. So we can bring on dispatcher under us. Sheen, so we can bring on dispatchers under us. We are a broker. No, we don't need to dispatch. We can get employees to help us, but dispatchers are on the carrier side. So we don't need dispatchers. They get their own dispatchers. Terrence, FreightOn gives us leads, and we just pursue them as needed. Yes, sir, that is correct. We do provide the leads, and sometimes we provide you fully vetted customers because, once again, we don't have a sales team here. We're completely agent-based. So if someone approaches us from your area and wants to join and they're ready to go, we can just hand you that customer and say, here's a customer, take care of them. Let me see. All right, just a heads up, I'm going to be answering questions for another 5 minutes, all right? I want to keep it at about an hour. I don't want it too long. So just a heads up. Let me see where we're. Michael Roy, are you like Warehouse Anywhere? I don't know that company. I'll do a little research, but I know nothing about them. Jessica is interested. Thank you, Jessica. Are you in the Dallas, Texas area? We're everywhere. We're everywhere in the United States. We cover the entire U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Already answered that. All right. Paul, will we be provided with a FreightOn Oh, I guess you mean email, right? Email address, absolutely. Yes, you will have a FreightOn email address, a FreightOn business card, and you will be listed as an agent. Absolutely. Let me see. Good that you have your EIN already, Alan. And for everyone who sent us emails, we thank you for that. We see a lot of emails coming in. We will reply to you guys as soon as possible. Jesse, is the FreightOn app available on the iOS App Store and Google Play? They are in private mode. They are not live yet. More to explain privately. My fiance email you right now. Thank you. Uh, okay. Jessica has a good question. How do we get paid? Direct deposit. Yes, direct deposit is the most common way. For those who need checks, we can mail you checks. But yes, direct deposit, and it's bi-weekly. All right, no withholdings. Once again, let me see. Earl, I'm trying to understand your question. So after booking a load, finding your carrier, next load is your Jonas an agent. I'm not sure what Jonas is. Is software available to help me? Um, Please, reformulate that question just so that I understand it. Sorry about that. Michael Roy, what is the average amount of carriers I'll have per state? Well, that is absolutely um, the number of carriers is up and down. It's depending on who's online, who's using the app at that specific moment. So, but our listings are available to the entire 3.5 million carriers. Once again, software insight coming in the training. Although you will receive the training material as soon as possible. If you've already sent the email, we'll be replying to all these emails later tonight and going into tomorrow morning. Jessica, when you said we will get started in 2 weeks, did you mean that's the average time to get a customer? No, that's the average time to study the material, do the test, pass the interview, and be ready. Have your leads. Um, 2 weeks to get the first customer? No, some people can get a customer in the first 2 days, and others take a month. So it's really up to you. It's up to you how much you research your customer and how you're good at converting them. So, but on average, it takes 2 weeks to become a certified agent, and you're ready to go. Tiffany, we are not up and running in Canada and Mexico. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. We will be going to Mexico and Canada very soon, and we're launching in Europe just after that. All right, final question. I'm approaching the 1 hour. Okay, I think Joshua has the winning question. So that's my final question I'm going to take for today. Are you able to obtain customers from other states other than your own? The answer is yes. So you are free to do your own marketing. It's not like a territory-based kind of thing. You do your marketing. If you manage to convert customers and you're good at your job and you know how to sell, then yes, there is no reason for you not to target customers in other states. All right, guys. Once again, my name is Mo Sadi. I really appreciate you joining this webinar. There were a lot of people joining and very, very good and interesting questions. Once again, thank you for all the emails. We will definitely be replying to everyone. And just a reminder, this will be available as a video on demand kind of thing on YouTube, so you can always go back and view it. And feel free to send us any questions you have. You have our email addresses on the screen. You have a great evening, and thank you very much for joining, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.